Hey guys, welcome to Pokédex. This is a first in my channel. This is the first time we won't be playing. I'll just be talking. This is the wrap up for the Furious Fist season series that I did, which in which I basically played all the decks that I think will be good for this original season, and I did so in just 2 weeks. It was pretty tiring because I didn't have the head start that I did on previous weeks, where I had a little vacation and I had a lot of time to film for you guys. So I had to keep pushing myself to do stuff, to play, to record, and yeah, that was tiring. Today is kind of an editorial video, if you can say so. I'm still not sure how this thing will work because I mean the images you'll be seeing. I have all the decks here and I will open them when it's relevant, but I'm not sure this will be the most interesting video to watch, but maybe you can just listen and do something else with your eyes. Also, this is the kind of stuff that works better when it's written down. So maybe, yeah, the articles, I think I'll still be posting articles about this stuff because I have to write down the things that I want to say anyway, so I might as well just write an article and then I can still do the video, like talking and reading from the article at the same time, or at least looking at the article to see what the points I want to make. So there will be an article accompanying this video. Be sure to check that out if you like to read instead of listen. I don't know. So the regionals have already started in the US, at least. There were 3 regionals that I know of. I did some research. I will be posting the links in the article, the links of the articles where I found the information. So we have Philadelphia, Phoenix, and Houston. Without going into a lot of detail, because that's not really my thing here, you have other places if you want that, like PTCG Radio. I think the guy does a wonderful job going into detail, and you can check him out. But I'll just quickly look at some of the results and see what it means for these decks, and even talk a little bit about decks you guys can play. So before we start, I have a quick point to make. If you guys noticed, I'm only playing standard decks, not expanded decks, and there's a reason for that. I'm Portuguese, and we most likely won't have any expanded format regionals, because our regionals are just 1 day, and in 1 day events typically it's just standard or modified, sorry, and because there's no and the second day is expanded, but because we don't have the second day, I don't think we will be playing much expanded, at least for now. Let's see how things work out. If people start demanding it or something, maybe they'll change it. But at the moment, I don't feel... I mean, I would always be talking like as an outsider. We can't even test the format in PCCGO because there's just unlimited, and unlimited is not the same as expanded. I will say this though, I think the format will be pretty similar to standard. I always thought that, and I have actually said that in an article I already wrote in my Tumblr page. You can check it out. Because I feel like the current decks are so strong that I tested the Eels deck, and I found it really hard to believe that deck was going to be better than Verizion Genesect. So yeah, that kind of makes me scared of what's to come in a Pokemon trading card game, because there's the feeling that there's a power creep issue. I can talk a little bit more about that in a video to come, but that's something to look out for. So anyways, I won't be talking about expanded. I'll just be looking at standard decks, which the results are not that easy to analyze because the 32 best people go on to the second day, if I'm not mistaken. So we have like we can look at the decks from a point of a point, yeah, points in the Swiss rounds point of view, like the deck that got the most points and all that. But I don't know. It feels like it's not the most accurate as well. So I think the best thing we can do is look into numbers or stuff like that. And if you look into Philadelphia, there were a lot of Ivoltal decks. The first regional, and there's a lot of Ivoltal decks. That's I can't be surprised by that because I would play Ivoltal as well. In fact, I wasn't sure most people were aware of that, so I can say I kept it myself because I made a video about it for you guys. But um, yeah, I thought Ivoltal was pretty nice, especially after played it a little bit in my local game store. It had game against what I thought was going to be the best deck, which is Verizian Genesect. It actually has game against everything because of Garbodor shutting down Pyro and stuff like that. So I thought it was a wonderful deck, and I was thinking about playing it myself if it came down to that. But as you guys know, because the regionals already started, people are changing their choices, changing their decks. I mean, people that can, because let's face it, there are a lot of people that don't have that many cards, and their choices are made way prior to the regionals. Like they choose when the set comes out. Okay, so I'll try to build a fighting deck for instance, and they'll get the cards for that deck, and then when the original comes, that's a deck they play because they don't have anything else. So there are players that are a little bit more competitive, or maybe it's not even being competitive. It's just because you can have all the cards and you can have everything. You have the choice to play whatever you like, and that's my case. I have pretty much everything that's strong in the format, so I can play Verizian Genesect, I can play Lugia, I can play Yveltal. So yeah, and because of that, I can make my choices based on the previous regional results. I expect the at least the top 8 of a tournament, or the top 16, or maybe even the top 32 to be players in that camp. But some of the players you'll face won't be able to make set choices. So it's take this video with a grain of salt, because this is not these are not hard rules that I'm talking about. So if I say that Yveltal Garbodor was played a lot and Raichu is really good against it, it may or may not affect the decks in your current meta. So it's better if you have your own knowledge, if you carry your own knowledge with yourself. Moving on, Philadelphia had a lot of Yveltal decks, which is not surprising. There's also some Verizian Genesect, some Plasma. I couldn't find which Plasma decks there were, but okay. I'm leaning more towards Speed Lugia because I think Kyurem is not in a great spot right now, at least in Standard. And there were obviously some fighting decks, strong energy making a lot of decks viable. We can see a little trend starting here with the Donphan decks, which is something that totally escaped my range, my sight. Donphan decks totally out of my radar. But the place where the real breakthrough for those decks came was in Texas. There are a lot of Donphan decks in the top places. I don't know. It really surprised me because I thought Donphan was going to be played with Trevenant, and I actually played the deck and I thought it was a little bit clunky. You definitely felt that there was something there, you know. The strategy was totally busted when it worked, but when it didn't, especially against Garbodor, Yveltal Garbodor, for example, the deck really struggled. And yeah, it doesn't come as a surprise that they started pairing it with Yveltal counters like Zekrom and possibly even Raichu. I'm not sure. We haven't seen at least I haven't seen a don't find list that's official. Like this guy played this list, so I'll try to find one and maybe play that deck for you guys as well. I know Top Cut Puka has made 2 videos about the deck already, but I think the deck lists, I don't know if he has some insider information, but the deck lists are his own, not the guys that played it, so I'm not sure. But definitely something on the horizon. Um, then there's the Phoenix regional. There are some plasma decks on the top. That's the regional that had the most. My reason for putting Speed Lugia as one of the best decks was obviously Virgin and Yveltal Garbodor being the other best decks, because I think Speed Lugia is honestly great game against both. Lugia, you just want to go with Lugia if you're playing against Viridian Genesect. You just knock 2 guys out and that's it. The guy is dead. And then there's Yveltal decks that struggle against Thunder, so I thought Speed Lugia was going to be great. And in Phoenix, I think we saw a little bit of that. There are some Seismitoad decks all around. I don't think we have seen a lot of big basics, but I don't know. I don't know if the deck is good or not. I think it depends a lot on the meta. If there are a lot of fighting decks, big basic, this deck destroys them totally. But if you're playing against Seismitoad Pyroar, well, you also win. This is not really I was calling this a mirror match because big basics has the Seismitoad going on, but it also has Garbodor, and I think this deck destroys the Seismitoad Pyroar version. And I basically this is my big conclusion. Because Yveltal Garbodor was so good, and because Raichu is not an expensive card, I think most people will be taking Raichus into their decks. Let's look into them. So Yveltal Garbodor, you can easily switch the Garbodor for Raichu. I'm not sure. I mean, you get a worst game against Pyroar because you actually probably lose. You have the Raichus and you have the lasers, but the Raichus don't take out a Pyroar without dying themselves, and that can be a struggle to win those kinds of games. I mean, it is totally possible, especially now that I'm thinking of it, because Pyroar decks typically only play 3 Pyroar. If they play 4, it's a worst case actually. So, but I'm not sure this deck can play both the Raichu and the Garbodor. Maybe, I'm not sure. I have been having, sometimes this deck has some consistency issues because it doesn't play a lot of drawing supporters. There's already that going on in the deck because we're only playing, let me count them. So there's N and Sycamore, so that's 8, plus 1 Colress, 9. We do have 3 Skyla, but that's like a slow supporter, because sometimes you play the Skyla to get the Sycamore. So I don't know, maybe my count is wrong as well. This is the first deck that I built because I wanted to play a lot of Skylas in order to get the Garbodor going. I thought Garbodor is going to be a big player, and I didn't want to struggle to assemble my Garbodor. So I thought for Scala to get both the float stones and the ultra balls were necessary. So I'm not sure. Maybe my numbers are wrong. But because Garbodor needs 6 cards, basically it's just 2 Trubbish, 2 Garbodor, and 2 float stones. I don't know if the deck can add the Raichu without taking out the Garbodor. Maybe if we adjust the numbers a little bit. I don't know. That's yet to be seen. But it would make the deck better against Raichu, against the mirror match, and against Speed Lugia, but it would make it worse against Virizion Genesect, because you don't want to go with Raichu. They can knock him out pretty easily without even needing the G booster, and we don't want to give them free prizes at all. And they can even Like they can deal 70 damage with the Resin, and they can deal 20 extra damage with with Megalo Cannon hitting the bench. So I don't know if that's what we want to go for or not. It does make this deck better in the if the meta has less Verizian Genesect and more Yveltal decks like we've seen in the past. But people might just go, okay, so Yveltal is good, let him be, I'll just play my Verizian Genesect deck. As I said before, this deck can play a lot of tech cards. I'll just add some Raichu in here, like maybe we cut down on Cupchu and Bertic, and we have 2-2 Raichu line and just 1-1 Bertic line. Because Raichu also hits the Pyroar, and the Bertic can take more than one hit, so maybe that works. I'm not a big fan of taking out the Deoxys. I think Deoxys is actually pretty nice at the moment because Donphan is a deck, and if you had just a small Muscle Band on Genesect TX, you have the Deoxys in play, and you play a Plasma Energy on Genesect, you kill the Donphan. So that's big game, I think. If the Donphan deck is something to look out for, I think Verizian Genesect gets a little bit better. Anyways, at least this version with Deoxys, which is a totally fine tech card on its own. So this list, I think, I don't know if it got better, because I already thought it was really, really good, so yeah. Definitely still one of the big decks out there. Speed Lugia, well, we can't add Raichu to this deck. As I talked about before, I don't like teching Pokemon in this deck. But there is something I would change. I would add an extra Thundurus. I don't know what I would take out, but I would definitely add an extra Thundurus, just because Yveltal decks have an hard time dealing with this guy. We just drop one energy into him, so it doesn't boost their Yveltal decks that much. Yveltal attacks that much, sorry. It just adds 20 damage to their attack, and we are doing a Raiden Knuckle with 3 Deoxys on the bench. That's 120 damage, so that's a 2-hit KO against Yveltal. That's pretty nice. If you add Muscle Bands and Frozen Cities and other Deoxys, that's a lot of damage. So really, really good against Yveltal. But there is a problem though with this deck, which is, as you guys know, this struggles against Pyro decks. I just decided to go with I don't think the deck, if you play a lot of tech Pokemon, the deck gets really, really worse. This is a deck based totally on consistency. And I was basing my premise on the fact that this deck beats Yveltal and this deck beats Verizian Genesect, and I didn't think a lot of people were going to be playing Pyroar. Well, there's an extra problem for this deck, which is Donphan decks are playing Safeguard Pokemon now. And because they don't play EX Pokemon, so you can't knock out 2 EX Pokemon with Lugia and be done. You have to actually knock out at least 3 Pokemon with Lugia. And because they play Safeguard Pokemon, that's another reason why this deck might struggle. So if there are a lot of Donphan decks, we don't want to be playing Speed Lugia as well. So I don't know where that leaves us. At first I thought, oh whoa, a lot of Yveltal decks, that's great for us. But then, oops, a lot of Donphan decks, that's not great for us. So I'm still not sure how this will play out, but the deck is definitely strong, and I'm still keeping it ready for battle, but I'm not sure, totally sure about that, yes. Seismitoad Pyroar, well, I don't think we have the space for the Raichu line, but the deck was supposed, I don't know, maybe this gets better because our opponent will not be playing Garbodors anymore in the Yveltal decks. I'm not sure if that's true. Okay, just excuse me a second because I have to blow my nose, sorry. Sorry about that. I am back. So, as I was saying, Yveltal decks, if they stop playing a Garbodor, that's one less Garbodor that we see, and it immediately makes this deck better, I think. So if they drop the Garbodor to start playing the Raichu, this deck gets a little bit better. And I don't know if there's anything else we can add. It still has some consistency problems, and but it still can beat the big decks like Virizion Genesect, so it can still show up. About the big basics deck, I don't know. I'm not sure about this deck. I mean, it's great in the current meta, but I'm not sure that the current meta is what we have right now. Maybe we'll see a lot of backlash from fighting decks as a reaction, because if you think about it, so Yveltal is very good. People start playing Raichu, and suddenly, you know what's good against Raichu? Fighting stuff. So, and this deck not only has fighting stuff itself, like Landorus, obviously, like the most powerful, probably one of the most powerful Pokemon in the vacuum. In a vacuum, like, okay, there's Yveltal EX, but this guy is really insane, like with just one energy, especially if it's a strong energy like we have right now. So yeah, the deck definitely has something going for it. Maybe we'll see like a Raichu getting preyed upon, so that would make this deck better as well. We'll see about that. That's like next leveling the next level. That's like level 2 stuff. When I say next level, I mean that's lingo that comes from Magic the Gathering. When you have a deck to beat in a format, and someone is playing the deck that, imagine that there's going to be a tournament and you're expecting a lot of Yveltal decks because Yveltal is the best deck, and people are playing the thing that counters the Yveltal deck. That's next leveling, but this will be like next leveling the next level, you know. You're preying on the things that prey upon other things. So it's like if rock is the strongest thing and people are playing paper to beat rock, and you're playing scissors because scissors beats the paper that beats the rock. So just a little bit of magic lingo for you guys. So that's pretty much it. That's also all that I wrote in the article that I'm going to be posting along with this. You guys might want to check out that as well. I hope you like this. I'm not sure these videos work. If you guys think they do, or if you guys think they don't, well, please comment and tell me your opinion. I want to try to make this a little more I want to share more with you guys, and I want you guys to share more with me as well. I want more interaction in the channel, so because I'm totally open to it. I don't have many followers, so you guys are like a small group, so I can definitely answer to everyone. So if you guys have anything you want to say, you totally get a voice in shaping what this will be or won't be. So if you guys don't want any more videos where I just talk about stuff, you can say so. And if you guys like this, you can also say so, and I will definitely do more or less depending on what you guys think. Sorry. That's it for now. I don't think I have anything else to say. I hope you like the series on the regionals. Maybe I'll do more in the future with less decks, I hope. But yeah, see you guys.